In my last video, we talked about the Rocks Pirates and how Rocks D. Zebek shaped the Yonko, and as promised, today we'll be discussing how the Rocks Pirates crew members interacted with each other, and how exactly did those relationships affect the events we've seen in the story. What's good, everybody? My name is Zach, welcome back to the channel. For today's adventure, we'll be exploring the Rocks Pirates once again, but this time we'll be exploring relationships like the Whitebeard and Kaido relationship. Why exactly did Kaido want to go after Whitebeard during Marineford? Also, Big Mom and Kaido, what was their relationship really like, and how's that gonna affect their alliance? And we're also not gonna leave out the other Rocks Pirates like Shiki, and even some unconfirmed members like Shaki. We're gonna get into all that, but first off, the King Pirates crew is now over 33,000 members. If you're new to the crew, make sure to say hi in the comments, and if you're not yet part of the crew, hit that subscribe button and join us on this adventure. But yeah, let's start by discussing Kaido and Whitebeard's relationship, because I think that's easily one of the most interesting. To this day, one of the biggest mysteries in the story is why exactly did Kaido want to go after Whitebeard? There's been plenty of One Piece theories and a bunch of what-if scenarios about Kaido arriving at Marineford, but unfortunately we didn't get to see that because Shanks stopped Kaido from going. Now, because we don't really know the details of the full situation, that's easily one of the biggest flexes for Shanks. The man stops one Yonko and then turns around and immediately shows up and stops the entire war. That really hyped up the red-haired pirates and Shanks' strength, and don't get me wrong, I think they're gonna be ridiculously strong, but I feel like the situation was not just Shanks defeating Kaido and making him go back. Shanks showed up to Marineford without like a single scratch. I'm sure he could have clashed with Kaido a little bit, but I don't think he just straight up kicked Kaido's ass or anything like that. Which begs the question of like, what exactly happened during that interaction, and why did Kaido want to go after Whitebeard in the first place? Because although Kaido is very impulsive and he's kind of a meathead, we know he's very calculated as well. When Oden first came back to Wano, he came up with this scheme with Orochi to make Oden dance for 5 years to build up his own forces because he didn't think he could win. Now realistically, if he showed up to Marineford, he probably would have had the advantage with the other two sides fighting each other, but he still would have suffered some damages to his crew without really accomplishing much besides killing Whitebeard. And honestly, we don't really even know if that's what he was really after. The Marine said Kaido wanted to kill Whitebeard, but he hasn't said anything himself. And even if his goal was to kill Whitebeard, we haven't gotten any hints as to why. So far, Kaido hasn't even mentioned Whitebeard too many times in the story, and anytime he's really mentioned Whitebeard, it's been kinda ambiguous. There's been multiple times where he's talked about Whitebeard's death and how he's kinda jealous that Whitebeard died the right way, but even with that, you don't really feel any strong animosity from Kaido. Like, based off of that alone, I can totally see them having a good time when they were still on the Rocks crew. Which, by the way, if you're having a good time watching this video, drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, with Kaido and Whitebeard, there really hasn't been many moments where Kaido said something negative about Whitebeard. So far, there's really only been one instance during the Oden flashback. When Oden finally went and fought Kaido, Kaido had this line of dialogue talking about how Roger and Whitebeard were soft. But even with that, it doesn't feel like Kaido has this strong hatred for Whitebeard to the point that he would go to the Marineford War to kill Whitebeard. Calling somebody soft is something you do in a pickup basketball game. And honestly, it's not really even an insult because Roger and Whitebeard were good people. So based off of everything we've seen so far, there's really no obvious reason for Kaido to want to kill Whitebeard. But if we get into theory territory, we could come up with some options. We do know the Rocks Pirates finally split up at God Valley after Rocks D. Zebek was defeated. You had the Rocks Pirates and the Legendary crew on one side, and on the other side you had the Roger Pirates and Garp. Now Garp and Roger winning this fight is still realistic, especially when you think about like Rayleigh and Scopper and how strong they could be, and maybe like the Rocks Pirates just don't have good chemistry, so they were messing up a little bit. But if we're talking about like pure strength, especially if Rocks lives up to his portrayal, I would honestly say the Rocks Pirates are probably stronger overall. So if we really want to get into theory territory and come up with a reason that Kaido would want to kill Whitebeard, maybe Whitebeard turned the tides in that battle. Now this is pure headcanon, I don't have things from like SBS's and like little panels to back this up, but I think it's an idea that would make sense within the story. Whitebeard, of course, we know is a good guy, so it would make sense that he's fighting on the side of Roger and Garp. We also know that Whitebeard and Roger were kinda cool. They didn't really have any hatred towards each other, they seemed like friends. Even Garp and Whitebeard kinda have a mutual respect for each other. So honestly, I could see a scenario where the battle is going on and Whitebeard kinda has like all this built up frustrations about living on this crew where people are just killing each other. So he kinda becomes the X factor that switches sides and completely turns the tides. And if you watch yesterday's video on the Rocks Pirates, I see Kaido as somebody that was really inspired by rocks, whereas Whitebeard was somebody that really developed through his bad experience with the Rocks Pirates. So if we go along with that line of idea, I think it makes sense as well. And there's a lot of different ways you can make this interesting, because it would mean Whitebeard betrayed his crew and potentially killed his own captain, which is kind of similar to what Blackbeard did in betraying his own crew. And of course, the biggest thing about this theory is that it would explain why Kaido was trying to kill Whitebeard. He might have known that Whitebeard was going to end up dying at Marineford and didn't want him to have this great death. Now, another thing that could really tie into this relationship and explain why Kaido wanted to kill Whitebeard is possibly Ace. And to fully flesh this out, we're gonna have to talk about some manga spoilers, so if you're anime only, skip ahead to here to get to the next section. But yeah, recently in the manga, with the introduction of Yamato, we got a lot of Ace information. We found out the reason Ace never went back to Wano was because Whitebeard didn't let him go. Now, some people had some issues with this, especially because Whitebeard went after Ace at Marineford, so it felt kind of weird that he decided to let Kaido go despite the fact that he killed Oden. Personally, I get the argument, but I still think it makes enough sense. I feel like Whitebeard probably should have been a little more upset at the situation, but there is still a big difference in the Ace situation where Ace was still alive and Oden was already dead. But another way you can kind of tie this into the previous theory is maybe Whitebeard feels some kind of guilt towards Kaido. Guilt might not be the right word, but I'm sure like because of his previous experience with Kaido and knowing what the f. Guilt might not be the right word, but I'm sure because of his previous experience with Kaido and knowing how strong Kaido is, he definitely has some hesitations. But as far as Ace's connection to Kaido and Whitebeard, I don't think he had anything to do with Kaido wanting to go to Marineford. When Ace showed up to Onigashima, Kaido and his men weren't even there. He did destroy up Onigashima a little bit, but I'm sure Kaido's not that mad about it. At least not to the point of going to kill Whitebeard at Marineford. But yeah, with the Kaido and Whitebeard situation, my best theory is that Whitebeard turned on the Rocks Pirates. It could definitely be something else, so if you have any good theories, let me know in the comments. But this is definitely another major thing I'm excited to find out more about in the Kaido flashback, because we do know that Kaido also has respect for Whitebeard. Once again, when he had that silhouette of the strong people behind Luffy, Whitebeard was one of those people. And also with him always talking about how Whitebeard died the right way, I just want to know what that really means to him. But moving on, let's talk about another Rocks Pirates relationship that is very important right now, and that is Big Mom and Kaido. Their relationship was really the first hint that we got about the Rocks Pirates. When Big Mom called Kaido about going after Luffy, they clearly had a very close relationship. Kaido referring to Big Mom as Lin Lin, and then also Big Mom saying, hey, let's kick it back like it's the old time. And with Kaido and Big Mom, like I talked about in the previous video, they definitely fit within the Rocks Pirates a lot more than like a Whitebeard. I think looking at who they are now, they definitely were heavily influenced by Rocks and what Rocks wanted to do. Their relationship so far, you definitely see like a bit of a rivalry and this like younger brother, older sister type of relationship. Low-key like a Zoro and Sanji type of relationship, but they don't actually care for each other at all. Like if you're looking at the way they're interacting, like Kaido calling her an old hag, and Big Mom saying Kaido's like a little brother to her, they definitely still have that familiarity. How the f do you say that word? And also Big Mom saying Kaido's like a little brother to her. You could definitely feel like back in the day they had a closer relationship. But at the end of the day, because of how the Rocks Pirates were formed and how they just had no loyalty, this is definitely still a very untrustworthy relationship. And there's absolutely no doubt that their alliance is going to be destroyed. Both of them have already proven to be very untrustworthy. When they have the right opportunity, they will betray each other. Now once again, to fully break this down, we're going to get into some manga spoilers, so skip ahead to here if you're anime only. But with the information from the manga, we have a pretty good breakdown of what their goals are with this alliance. It hasn't been fully fleshed out, but we got information that they're going after ancient weapons. Now we still don't know how exactly they're gonna do this, but it could definitely tie back to what they were doing with the Rocks Pirates. Because Rocks was going against all these world taboos and knew all these secrets, Big Mom and Kaido could have easily picked some things up while they were traveling on the Rocks Pirates. But again, personally, I don't think this alliance is gonna end up going anywhere. We've already seen Big Mom take out 2 of the Toby Roppo members just out of pure impulse. I'm sure Kaido's not gonna be happy about that. I think eventually they're gonna be hurting each other more than helping each other. But with that being said, let's touch on the rest of the relationships that are not as fleshed out. One of them is Whitebeard and Big Mom. There really hasn't been any major connections between those two, but I feel like they might not be on terrible terms, because with Whitebeard in general, it's already been shown that he's not on bad terms with all the Rocks Pirates. And this was actually showcased in chapter 0 where Shiki visited Whitebeard. Shiki of course was also on the Rocks Pirates, and when he visited Whitebeard, they they were kind of still on friendly terms. Now this could possibly debunk the fact that Whitebeard betrayed the Rocks Pirates, but I also feel like Shiki's the type of person just to not give a damn. So honestly, I'm not sure. I feel like Whitebeard and Big Mom probably just on okay terms. But back on the subject of Shiki, he is definitely another very interesting character, especially in relation to Wano, because back in the Oden flashback, Kurozumi Higurashi showed a face that looked like Shiki. Now personally, I'm just not really sure if Oda's ever gonna bring Shiki actually back into the main story, but I will say that face looks exactly like Shiki, and it could be a way of tying like the Orochi and Kaido connection. Now beyond Shiki, the main confirmed members, we really haven't gotten anything out of them. Silver Axe and Wang Zhi, we don't even know if they're alive. As a matter of fact, the guy that's gotten the most screen time out of all of them is Captain John, who's already dead. So we can't really speculate about them until we get more information. Maybe I'll do a video about how they could play a role in the future. But besides them, the only people we could really talk about are the unconfirmed members like Shaki. Now Shaki is a person most people believe was on the Rocks Pirates because she said Garp used to chase her when she was a pirate 40 years ago, which adds up perfectly with the Rocks Pirates storyline. So I do believe she was on that crew, and that's just a very interesting idea because Rayleigh and her should have fought at God Valley if she didn't leave before that, and now they're a couple and married, so I really want to see like Shaki's perspective on the Rocks Pirates. She's also one of the only other good people on that crew, so I'm sure her and Whitebeard might have gotten along. And then the final unconfirmed Rocks Pirates member is Bakken. She was of course confirmed to be on a former crew along with Whitebeard, so most likely that's the Rocks Pirate crew, but at the same time, she just feels like a frail little old lady. I don't actually think she's strong, but who knows, maybe she'll come out and shock us all. And honestly, with the Weevil storyline as a whole, I really don't know what Oda's gonna do with it. I can actually see it go either way, like Weevil actually being Whitebeard's son and Bakken actually somehow got with Whitebeard, or Bakken's just talking out of her ass and trying to take advantage. Eventually, I think Weevil's gonna be a good guy and become an ally, but right now I just don't see how he works his way into the main storyline. I guess that's another thing we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to check out the King Pirates Elite in the description. But otherwise, I got another theory video for you right here about ancient weapons, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!